Reader beware, you're in for a scare. That's what R.L. Stine always told us. But I never really felt scared reading Goosebumps books. Thrilled, yes. Entertained, definitely. But genuinely frightened? No. They were just fun adventures into the macabre. At least that's what I thought, until I joined the Goosebumps fan club. My name is Ethan, and I'd always been what you'd call a bookworm. While other kids were obsessed with TikTok or Fortnite, I was hunting down dog-eared paperbacks at thrift stores. Let's just say the other kids didn't accept this fact. I didn't have too many friends. I guess that's how my Goosebumps collection started, though. I used to trade books with one of my teachers at school named Damon, who had saved his entire original collection from the 90s. Although he randomly quit halfway through one of the semesters, and I wasn't able to do that anymore. I was hooked ever since reading Welcome to Dead House. Soon I was spending my entire allowance ordering used copies online and reading by flashlight after bedtime. It was on a Goosebumps subreddit that I first saw mention of the Goosebumps fan club. Someone with the username SlappyLives posted about an exclusive online community for true fans only. They claimed members got access to insider information about the series, including details about lost manuscripts and stories too disturbing to publish. I should have been skeptical, but when you're 12 and obsessed with something, skepticism isn't exactly your strong suit. I DM'd SlappyLives, asking how to join. The response came quickly. The fan club isn't for casual readers. Only those who truly appreciate R.L. Stine's vision are welcome. Are you willing to prove your dedication? I replied almost as soon as I read it. Absolutely. Goosebumps is my life. SlappyLives later sent me a link to a website with a black background and green dripping font text. Classic 90s Goosebump aesthetic. The site asked for basic information, name, age, email. Then came a quiz about the series. Not just simple questions, but deep ones about characters, plot twists, and obscure titles. I scored 43 out of 50, and a message appeared. Impressive, but knowledge isn't enough. True fans live the experience. Are you ready for your first dare? That's how it started. A simple dare based on one of my favorite books, Stay Out of the Basement. I had to spend 30 minutes alone in the dark in our basement storage area and document it with a photo. Easy enough. The basement was creepy, but familiar, just concrete walls, dusty storage bins, and the constant hum of the water heater. I completed the dare and uploaded the photo. Almost immediately, again, an email arrived with a link to a members-only Discord server. There were only about 20 other members, all using Goosebumps-themed usernames. I chose Monster Blood Ethan, after my favorite book title. The server had several channels, but the most active was Dare Club. There, members posted evidence of completed challenges and received access to exclusive content, scanned pages allegedly from Stine's notebooks, plot outlines for unpublished stories, and even audio files claimed to be rare interviews. I was absolutely hooked and needed more. My second dare was based on Monster Blood. I had to mix green slime and record myself telling my mom it was growing and consuming objects in our living room. Harmless fun, and she even got a little bit of a kick out of it. Then the third referenced the haunted mask, requiring me to sleep with a Halloween mask on, and describe any dreams I had that night. I actually did dream of running through an endless corn maze, while something just out of sight chased me. The fan club moderator seemed particularly interested in this, asking detailed follow-up questions about the dream. With each completed dare, I gained access to more exclusive content and moved up the membership ranks. Bronze Reader, Silver Reader, Gold Reader, each level had its own channel with increasingly obscure Goosebumps material. It was in the Gold Reader channel that I first noticed something strange. A member named Horrorland Hannah shared a photo of her completed dare, sitting alone in a movie theater at midnight, based on Phantom of the Auditorium. But in the background of her dark photo, barely visible, was what looked like a tall, thin figure standing in the exit doorway. When I called it out, the message thread suddenly disappeared. When I asked about Horrorland Hannah the next day, no one responded. I checked the member list and her name was gone. I told myself she probably just left the server. People get bored with online communities all the time. But something else was starting to feel wrong as well. The dares were becoming more extreme. Sleep all night in a bathtub with the lights off for the ghost next door. Leave your window open all night during a rainstorm for Ghost Beach. Record yourself reading passages from Calling All Creeps while alone in the forest at night. I began researching other members. Most used anonymous accounts, but a few had linked social media. Camp Jelly Jam had an Instagram account where she'd been documenting her fan club dares. Then her posts stopped abruptly 2 months ago. My fourth dare was based on Say Cheese and Die. I had to take my parents' old Polaroid camera to the abandoned train station outside town, take a portrait, and leave the undeveloped photo there overnight. I'd have to return in the morning to retrieve it. The train station had been closed for decades. The platform was crumbling, covered in graffiti with weeds growing up through cracks in the concrete, along with signs everywhere reading, "Danger, do not enter." It was exactly the kind of place parents warned kids to avoid. I went after school, my heart pounding as I ducked through a hole in the chain-link fence. The platform was eerily silent, except for the occasional distant car passing on the highway. I set up the camera on a broken bench, positioned myself against the graffiti-covered wall, and used the timer to take the photo. The Polaroid whirred and clicked, ejecting a gray square that slowly began developing. As instructed, I left it on the bench and hurried home, trying to ignore the strange feeling that someone was watching me from the shadows of the station's boarded-up ticket office. I returned the next day at dawn, half expecting the photo to be gone, but it was still there, face down on the bench. I hesitated before turning it over. The image showed me standing against the wall, giving an awkward thumbs up. But in the window of the ticket office behind me, barely visible in the shadows, was a face. A pale, grinning face that almost looked like Slappy the Dummy from the Night of the Living Dummy. I uploaded the photo to the fan club server, and within minutes I received a private message from the admin. "Congratulations, you've been selected to advance to Ultimate Reader status. Your final dare awaits." The final dare was simple, yet still fairly daunting. Based on One Day at Horrorland, visit an abandoned attraction alone at night. Stay for at least 1 hour. The only abandoned attraction I knew of was Wonder Mountain, which had closed when I was younger after a fatal roller coaster accident. It was located on the outskirts of the next town over, about a half-hour's bike ride away. The place was strictly off-limits, surrounded by tall barbed wire fences. At first, this dare felt like it was too much, like I could get in trouble or possibly injured. I messaged the admin saying I couldn't do it because it was too risky. Their next response stressed me even more than I already was. "Ethan, you've come so far. Don't you want to meet the other ultimate readers? Don't you want to know the truth about the books?" I had to admit I did. I really did. However, I still decided not to. Something felt a little off with this fan club. The next week, a package arrived in our mailbox with no return address. Inside was kind of a manuscript of a Goosebumps book I didn't recognize. The cover showed a group of kids standing outside an abandoned amusement park. The title was The Ultimate Reader, a book that, as far as I knew, didn't exist in the official Goosebumps canon. As I flipped through it, I was astonished. The story follows a boy named Ethan who discovers a secret online group obsessed with a popular horror book series. The plot matched everything that had happened to me, right up to receiving the mysterious package with the book inside it. The last pages were blank except for a handwritten note at the very end. You were so close to reaching your true potential, Ethan. Friday night after sunset, Wonder Mountain. We'll still be there for now. The curiosity was overwhelming. The desire to be part of this, I just couldn't let it go. So when Friday night arrived, I told my parents I was sleeping over at a new friend's house. I packed a flashlight, my phone, and a can of pepper spray in my backpack, just in case. Then I climbed on my bike and rode through the dark evening, toward Wonder Mountain. It took me almost 45 minutes, mostly uphill. By the time I arrived, night had fully fallen. The abandoned amusement park loomed against the starry sky, a skeletal silhouette of roller coaster tracks and a rusting Ferris wheel. I circled the perimeter until I found a section where the fence had been cut. The edges folded back to create an opening, just big enough for a person to slip through. My heart hammering in my chest, I squeezed through the gap and entered Wonder Mountain. The park was eerily silent. No crickets chirped, no distant traffic sounds, just the occasional creak of metal as the wind moved through the abandoned rides. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing cracked pavement and faded signs promising thrills and excitement. I called out, my voice small in the vast emptiness. No response. I made my way toward the center of the park, where a carousel stood with its once colorful horses, now peeling and dull. A voice behind me welcomed me as Ultimate Reader. I spun around, nearly dropping my flashlight. Standing there was a girl about my age wearing a Goosebumps t-shirt. It took me a moment to recognize her from her profile picture. Horrorland Hannah, who had vanished from the server weeks ago. Her smile looked like she was remembering how to form the expression. She hadn't disappeared, she explained. She graduated. They all had. As if summoned by her words, figures emerged from the shadow surrounding the carousel. Kids of various ages, all wearing Goosebumps merchandise. Shirts, hats, wristbands. My grip tightened on my flashlight as I asked what was happening. A taller figure stepped forward from behind the carousel, an adult wearing a leather jacket and glasses. For a second, my heart leapt. Was it R.L. Stine? But no, this man was younger, with a sharp smile that didn't reach his eyes. He introduced himself as Damon, the first Ultimate Reader from 1993, before Goosebumps was even famous. He also happened to be my old teacher. I ran up and gave him a hug as he smiled happily. Hello, Ethan. As I'm sure you have already suspected, the worlds in these books aren't just imagination. They contain real things from parallel dimensions, just like the Slappy you saw on your Polaroid. Special people like us can find doors to them. R.L. Stine had discovered them by accident, and instead of sharing his discovery, he turned it into great fiction. Every Goosebumps book is actually a map to another world. Our group exists to find others who can sense the truth behind the fiction. Those brave enough to help us hold back the things from the other side. You, Ethan, are one of those people. I've always suspected it. Someone destined to join us in the explorations of these forgotten realms. We need you, Ethan. He extended his hand and then guided me up the surface of a large rock behind him. Once we got over the top, I could see that the other side was at least a 60-foot drop onto a concrete sidewalk below. Your last step of initiation is right here. Join your new brothers and sisters and take a step off over the other side. I immediately stopped, fear surging through my veins. What do you mean? I asked nervously. He chuckled at me. You must leave one reality to enter another. It's as we all have done before you. I looked down the cliffside and, for a moment, I actually thought about it. You must be brave, Horrorland Hannah yelled from the crowd behind us. I then thought of how my parents would feel if I just didn't come home. how they would never move on. I just couldn't go through with it. I had to get out. I quickly turned and ran for the exit, the pitch-dark park seeming as if it was trying to stop me, paths appearing like they would twist and turn just to block my way. I finally found the gap in the fence and squeezed through, tearing my jacket and scraping my arm. When I looked back, I saw the entire rest of the club standing on the other side of the fence. Then Damon stepped up behind the crowd. I understand the path of the ultimate reader isn't for everyone. It requires great sacrifice. But trust me, it's worth it. I just can't, I said as I grabbed my bike and rode home in a panic. That was 3 months ago. The Goosebumps fan club didn't reach out again, but I still see them sometimes, standing across the street outside my school. They don't approach me or say anything. They just observe, possibly waiting for me to change my mind. Sometimes, when I'm up late reading, I find myself staring at the covers of my Goosebumps books, wondering what's on the other side. What worlds they'd been exploring, what adventures they were having. I can't help but wonder if I made the right choice that night. After all, what's so great about reality when fiction just feels like so much more? Maybe someday I'll be brave enough to ask them. Hey, it's Mr. Freaky, and I'm here to tell you that Ethan's story isn't over yet. What happens next is for you to decide. Option A, Ethan returns to Wonder Mountain and does what the others told him to do in order to join the club. Option B, Ethan tries to report the club to the police and tries to get them shut down. Option C, Ethan decides to start writing his own book series using his unique gift. The choice is yours, but remember, some doors, once opened, can never be closed again.